I would like you to please describe what we would call the self in your own words / from a Hindu perspective.
So in Hinduism, it's called the Atman, the one, the source. And with that, we are to find balance and peace. From what I've learned so far in this particular cycle of my time as a human being, is that to find balance in the Western world is probably one of the hardest. When I have researched Eastern ways of living, i.e. living fully through religion, fully embracing your spirituality and taking into accordance everything that any scripture tells you to do, we still, or they still, can't understand or grasp the power of balance. So it's very interesting. When I was taking my awakening, of course, we're talking about isolation. How can we hear God? How can we hear God? How can we hear spirit? How can we hear Brahman, Shakti, Shiva? How can we hear, Ramadan, the monkey-like deity from Hinduism is the name I'm trying to say there, which is what Ram Dass was blessed as his guide. When we go through all of this, we're told to sit in silence, we're told to sit in isolation, we're told to take time out. And even through the online space, through business, the mental health situation, the well-being of people, everybody says sit in silence. The way I see this is you can't take the time to sit in silence. You can't take the time to meditate. You can't take the time to hear in a world, in a lifestyle that you choose to bow down to every single trigger or every single destruction or every single agitation. So the heightened system within inside of you, we talk about the chakras, the alignment and the balance within your body is so out of control that it's hard to say that you would absolutely hear your calling without hearing that through the ego. When it comes to the Atman, it is practiced through yoga, and not only yoga in the way the Westerners do it, the usual flows. If you practice yoga a lot, you will understand that the flows are all the same in the Western world and they get incredibly boring. That is not fully what yoga is. It's a lifestyle, it's a Hinduistic practice, and you are to follow each day with your silence, with your meditation. Your meditation takes into transcendence, which is a very powerful thing. And so these practices within the lifestyle that we lead, when you're not brought up in them, I think can be quite detrimental if you don't fully understand it or have that guidance. And it is all, we've spoken about it before, it is all about the body. It is all about what you're carrying, because ultimately, again, Hinduism believes that your body is the Atman, it's the source, it's the soul, it's your home. And so if it's full of toxins and you haven't stretched, that you can't hold your yoga pose, you're holding that trauma inside of you. And ultimately, you become the destroyer. You become the destroyer of the self.
Okay. I don't know. You were saying that reflects on the karma, that reflects on the dharma, and then it just froze.
Yeah, and that was me finished, because it goes round and round in circles. So being with the one source is that you have to find that balance.
Okay, I don't know. It seems like the Zoom is warning me I'm running out of time, I think. We still have 10 minutes. All right, we've got enough time to finish our questions. Okay, so the next one you actually already sort of answered, but I'm going to kind of touch on it. Do you have a guru, and are they an important person in your life?
Yeah, I suppose in some way I do. Again, it's from a spiritual practice, and they come to me in the form of spirit guides. Shakti and Shiva have always turned up. That's the he and the she of the male and the female dominance, and that feminine masculine energy we talk about in spiritualism. There's also Ram Dass is a huge part of my life. And of course, the amazing Dr. Wayne Dyer, who studied Taoism. Ram Dass lived through Hinduism, and he would make a lot of pilgrimages. And there's also my new favorite guru that I love is Mushi, and there's also Sadhguru. Unfortunately, these are all men, which is what I focused and spoke about earlier about the gender issue in, religion as a thing. And so us women, we're in this amazing time now where it's actually illegal to drag us through the camp, so to speak, and set us alight. So we've got more freedom now. We've got to speak up more. And we've got especially us Western women seem to have more rights than others, that I do believe we should be captivating that. So I can't say fully. There is some female gurus, but unfortunately, I don't follow them through totally because number one, they're not in my algorithm, so I don't see them that much unless I research them. And number two, they don't come through to me as spirit. It's very masculine, a majority of my spirit guides. But Neem Karoli Baba was Ram Dass's guru. And it's not because that was his guru, but listening to all the ancient texts and how Neem Karoli Baba was as a human form is so powerful. If he ran a cult, I would probably go and join it and go against everything that I say. But I am a hippie at heart. But absolutely, they are my gurus. And I always, when he turns up and I'm sitting there, I'm very lucky as well that I have the Buddha come and see me as well for healing and things. And they're very powerful characters that they teach me so much. And ultimately it is all about that, the Atman, the transcendence, the calm, because we just can't do anything without it as humans. We're so easily absorbed in our toxicity. We have to find balance, and I think in some way that's ultimately the way of our life, the way of our living.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, we got about 6.5 minutes left. Do you think the final stage in which a person practices extreme self-sacrifice and becomes an ascetic is an important step to moksha or enlightenment? And if so, why?
Okay, so no, I don't, because I've been through it myself. That's the first thing. The second thing is I just have to go off a little bit here very, very quickly about Catholicism. Of course, Catholicism and the nuns would do that. They would go and do awful things to themselves because, again, like I said, as human beings, we have to feel pain and suffering for what Jesus did on the cross. Hinduism as well, how can I fulfill you? How can I come through? How can I transcend? How can I become the ultimate version of myself so I can make peace with Brahma? And how am I able to become the source of one, never to regain, that reincarnation through karma? How can I be the best version of myself? And ultimately we turn inwards, and it becomes a horrific situation because it can lead to so many problems. And as we are in human form, of course, that's self-sabotage, mental health problems, eating disorders, self-harming. Sorry for any triggers there, but that is ultimately what it is. And it doesn't have to be that way, but it seems to be we do that automatically to believe that we have to suffer, like we said before, in order to find the right path for us.
Right. Okay. So I'm actually going to skip to this question because it seems to go with what you were just saying. Fred Blackburn, which I'll put his tag on screen. You can find him on TikTok or YouTube. He talked about in a video recently about how Hinduism, there is no sin, and what the cause of evil is actually ignorance. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I can, because I talk a lot about attachment. And when you spoke to me about that before, I did try to find that video and started listening to him. Ignorance is a lot of people follow religion because they think it's going to get them a place in heaven. They believe that they're going to become the ultimate version of themselves because I'm good. I believe in God. I believe in whatever God that means to you. I believe that the universe is going to serve me to the greatest good because of who and what I am. Look what I've done. Look what I've done. And so that's the ignorance. We think because we have followed this amazing life, text by text, comma by comma, book by book, and you see it all the time, you're doing too much. I've been there and done it. And you are so ignorant to what your body needs and what your soul and the Atman is trying to tell you. You can't hear it. And so you have this just scratching the surface of what you truly are and what you truly are to become. As Bob Proctor says, we're in a prison and we don't even know it. And the arrogance comes hand in hand with attachment because we refuse to see our truth. And it's the human way for the moment until the awakening starts to happen, because you have destroyed yourself or tried to so much that you're still here in human form, and you try and find a way out, that your back's against the wall, that you then say, okay, please help me, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about this already. What are your thoughts on traditional Hindu views of women as being fragile and in need of protection?
Yeah, it's you're speaking to a secret feminist here. It breaks my heart that the texts haven't changed. That's in all religious texts. We are seen across the board, I think, in all religions, that we are the weaker sex. We have to be protected. We have to be looked after. You know, some religions you can't pray when you're in a menstrual cycle. Some religions you have to cover your face. We can only see your feet. Other religions we have to stand behind our forefathers, our husbands. It might be the fact that you're not even attracted to a male species. Do you know what I mean? But that's the way, because you would be completely absconded out of your own, everything that you know, your culture, your society, everything. And it's just not worth it. They've just done a program about it within a comedy sort of play in England here, and it's fantastically done. It's very painful because us women are naturally the nurturers and the community builders and the intuitive leaders, the wisdom, the teachers. And so we have so much to offer. And it is so sad that we are always seen that we're only allowed to have the crumbs off the loaf of bread, as opposed to our male counterparts. Again, going back to the communities that I have worked in and certain communities that I have lived in, where Hinduism is a huge part of that culture, all the women, even though they have a little bit more freedom with other religions that I've been brought up in and taught about, there's still that male counterpart that they have to cook, they have to clean, they have to have the children, they have to look after the grandchildren. Also, they nurse their daughters for up to, I think, a year and a half. Mum comes and lives with them when they have their babies. So she is seen as the matriarch, as always, and yet has so little independence, has so little prosperity within her own future, but she knows so much, you know. The